Hello there, my name is Pigspoo and welcome to my first Iceberg video. This iceberg is about the obscurities and mysteries of World War I. If you happen to have not watched any other iceberg video before now and you don't know what an iceberg is, it's a collection of events and items through history labeled in an iceberg, going from the tip of the iceberg and going all the way down into the abyssal zone down below the iceberg. This is basically showing the most well-known down to the most obscure or the most horrible or whatever the iceberg is. And in this one, there are some pretty weird and some pretty obscure things, even for people who know a lot about World War I. But this is episode 1 of the iceberg because there's so much in it. I'll show you. It's a big iceberg, like a relatively big iceberg. Each level would take at least 10-15 minutes to do each one. So if I did all 8 levels in it, this would end up being over an hour long video, which I will supercut all of them eventually, but for now there's going to be 4 parts. The first 2 levels are going to be in part 1, in this part. Level 3 and 4 is going to be in part 2. 5 and 6 is going to be in part 3. Level 7 and 8 are going to be in part 4. So let's get into it. Tip of the iceberg. This is the most commonly known by most people, and it's on the very surface. So most people should know about this, and it's not too obscure. The first entry in this iceberg is the Zimmermann telegram. This was an event that happened in January of 1917, before the US got involved in World War I. In January, the German Foreign Minister, Arthur Zimmermann, sent a telegram to the German Foreign Minister in Mexico, named Heinrich von Eckhardt. This telegram detailed how Mexico would be given land in the United States if they joined World War I on the side of the Germans. He sent the telegram because it was of the opinion of the German High Command that they needed an ally in the Americas to basically take attention away from Germany so that the USA would focus on Mexico. This obviously didn't go well, as British cipherers intercepted the message and promptly showed it to the US government. Now it really wasn't going to go well, as the US would join the side of the British Empire and the French on April 6, 1917. The Zimmermann telegram was one of the deciding factors of the United States joining the war on the side of the British Empire, and it changed history forever. According to David Kahn, author of The Codebreakers, no other single cryptanalysis has had such enormous consequences. Never before or since has so much turned upon the solution of a secret message. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I won't go into too much detail about him, but here's the basics. He was the heir presumptive of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which basically meant that he was next in line for the throne. On the 28th of June, 1914, there were many attempts on his life throughout the day as he was cruising through Sarajevo. But he was finally shot by Gavrilo Princip and died after saying, quote, "It is nothing," many times until he finally lost consciousness. This was the catalyst for World War I, as directly due to his death, Austria-Hungary gave an ultimatum to Serbia, declared war, and then Germany declared war on Russia and France. The British Empire declared war on Germany, Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia, and Japan declared on Germany, and finally Austria-Hungary declared war on Japan. The Schlieffen Plan. This is referring to the plan the German Empire had to invade France through Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg in order to completely avoid the main French army on the border and take Paris quick. This would happen while Russia was being kept busy by the Eastern German army, allowing Germany to take France out quickly and then regather forces to focus on Russia. The plan was first formed in 1905 by Count Alfred Graf von Schlieffen. But before World War I, many changes were made to it, including downsizing the attacking army that would do the Schlieffen Plan. The changes were made by Helmuth von Moltke, and he was heavily blamed for the plan not working out. The plan did, however, work in the beginning stages of World War II, as the Germans did the exact same plan, but with tanks this time. They actually completely overran Allied positions and encircled many soldiers, such as the Dunkirk pocket. Christmas Truce. This is the time in 1914 on the Western Front when German, British, and French soldiers would all do unofficial ceasefires and go over the top and have a merry time. Not all the guns fell silent, but for the areas that it did, the soldiers shook hands, talked to each other when they could understand each other, ate together, played soccer together, and exchanged many different items, all in the name of Christmas and the war soon being over. This only happened in 1914, and it could not happen in the other years and other Christmases of the war, because past this point, the war had raged and it was hell. Too many died, too many disasters happened, and so much blood was shed that the idea of a small stupid war being over by Christmas was no longer in the minds of any of these soldiers. You could say it wasn't the horrible battle for survival that it turned out to be. The Battle of the Somme. This is a very big topic that I can't go into full depth in this video but if you want me to make a video on the Somme, I will gladly do so, just let me know. The Battle of the Somme took place between the 1st of July and the 18th of November 1916. 3 million men took part in the battle, with over 1 million of those ending up dead or injured. It was one of the bloodiest battles in history. The battle is named after the River Somme, where the battle actually took place across the general area of the River Somme. This battle is actually also where a potentially shell-shocked soldier comes from, but it's also thought that this comes from Passchendaele. The Somme was a gruesome battle, even for the standards of World War I. Here's a couple quotes that I found that I think would show you how the battle went down. Still, the English attack, even though they already lie shot down in their hundreds in front of our lines. Fresh waves continue to pour over from their jumping off positions. The skin of the gunners, of the gun commanders, hangs in shreds from their fingers. Their hands are scalded. The left thumb's reduced to a swollen, shapeless piece of meat from continually pressing the safety catch. The hands grip the lightweight, thin gun handles as if locked in a seizure. That last part was referring to how the heavy machine guns would vibrate so much as they were shooting that it would actually tear their fingers into shreds, and touching the barrel and trying to change the barrel also scalded their hands and burnt it, as it said in the quote. The Russian Revolution, the February Revolution, the Dual Power, the October Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, the Russian Civil War. All of these are part of the same revolution, being the Russian Revolution. But what was the Russian Revolution? Well, it was a revolution that took place during World War I, but lasted long after it. Specifically from March 1917 to June of 1923. The Bolsheviks rose up and fought against the monarchy of Russia, and eventually conquered Russia and turned it into the Union of Socialist Soviet Republics, or the USSR. The revolution was long and bloody for the Red Army, the White Army, and the civilians. The White Army being the loyalists to the Tsar, also called Tsarists. With the revolution complete, the first communist nation in the world was formed. Cities were renamed, like Tsaritsyn turning into Stalingrad, and Petrograd turning into Leningrad. Lenin took power and united the former states of the Russian Empire. Then he died and Stalin took his place, despite Lenin's wishes for him not to. And we all know how this turned out. Rasputin's death. If you don't know, Rasputin was an advisor to the imperial throne of Russia, and he was a wizard. Like an actual wizard, and he was absolutely insane. Because he was so insane, he did many insane things, like accepting bribes and sexual favors, allegedly having an affair with the Tsar's wife, fucking everything that walks, and that means most females he talked to, abusing women and the Tsar's children, and generally having too much influence in Russia and the royalty. There were a few known attempts made on his life, but I will talk specifically about the one that killed him. So one day, Grand Duke Pavlovich and Prince Yusupov invited Rasputin into a basement in the palace, where they would attempt to poison him with sweets laced with cyanide. Rasputin ate some, but it had no effect. They then tried to poison him with wine laced with cyanide, and he drank 3 glasses of it. Still no effect. So finally, after 2.5 hours of no effect with the poison, Yusupov grabbed a revolver, went to Rasputin, and shot him in the chest. Now they thought he was dead. They left him there for a while, and when they came back, Rasputin jumped and leapt onto Yusupov, attacking him, and they both made a run for the exit of the basement into the yard. This was where a man named Pershkevich shot Rasputin again. They shot him in his head, so he was definitely dead this time. They wrapped his body in cloth and dumped him off the Petrovsky Bridge into the Little Nevka River. It was finally done. There were accounts that people had seen him just fine after the fact, But this just simply wasn't true, as the police found the body in the river and confirmed that he was in fact dead. For real this time. Armenian genocide. All my World War I enthusiasts out there know about this one. The Armenian genocide is a genocide that took place between spring of 1915 to autumn of 1916 in the central and eastern regions of Anatolia. Anatolia is basically the whole of modern-day Turkey. The genocide was done by the Ottoman government on the Armenian Christian people. Of the 1.5 million Armenians in Ottoman territory, it is estimated that at least 600,000 and at most 1.2 million were killed either systematically in massacres or individual killings. This is where the word genocide comes from, by the way. The whole reason for the genocide to happen was the same reason for any other genocide to happen. The Muslim Turkish Ottomans wanted an ethnic cleansing to show that they are the dominant ethnicity. With that, we finished the tip of the iceberg, but we still have another level to go in this video. Level 2, just under the surface. This is going to have some stuff that everyday people will know and some stuff that they wouldn't. Destroy this mad brute. This is a propaganda poster made in 1918 by Harry R. Hobbs. It depicts a giant ape with a pickle hob that says militarism. The ape is holding a club that says culture and carrying a half-naked woman as the ape steps onto the shores of America. So obviously the monkey is the Germans. This poster is showing the Germans leaving a devastated Europe behind, invading America, taking the women, and destroying America's culture in the name of militarism. The aim of the poster was to recruit soldiers to fight this big fear of the Germans invading. This was one of the many posters that could have caused the active persecution of German Americans at the time. You should also know that the author possibly had the R-word of Belgium in mind as he made this poster. The R-word of Belgium was an event that took place during the German occupation of Belgium during World War I, where the Germans R-worded, murdered, and deported Belgians. So make your own conclusions about this one, but honestly, I just think any propaganda posters from old wars like this are super cool. PTSD soldiers. This one is talking about the soldiers of World War I coming out of the war with a devastated mind, which was really common. At the time, doctors didn't really know what PTSD was, so they called it shell-shocked. It's called shell-shock because of the shock of the artillery shells landing near the soldiers, usually causing great distress, to say the least. It is incredibly sad. There was a video on YouTube that showed hospital footage from shell-shocked soldiers during World War I and after World War I. And I don't know if it's still on YouTube, so you can look it up if you want, but I'll describe it so that you don't have to watch it. They would yell, scream, walk in circles, shake uncontrollably. Some of them would think they are still in the war and get down on the ground in preparation for more artillery strikes. Some also just weren't able to walk by themselves, and they would murmur to themselves, usually repeating certain words. Some would just curl up into a ball and shake and cry. Some would also just uncontrollably laugh or smile in the face of it all, because it had messed them up so bad. Like I said, it's incredibly sad. If you want to look up the video, you can, but I will give you this warning. If you're not desensitized, it will fuck you up. The 3 Secrets of Fatima. This is a Catholic thing. Fatima refers to Our Lady Fatima, who is the Virgin Mary as she appeared to 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal. Apparently, she came to them and told them many different things on many different occasions. The Marian apparition throughout 1917 told them to meet her on the 13th of every month. She asked them to pray with the rosary at the end of every decade, and the children asked if they could go with her, to which she said that the boy in the group would soon join her, as well as one of the girls. But the other girl would live a long life. She showed them a vision of hell and predicted World War II, and also said that Russia would persecute the faithful, saying, quote, "She, Russia, will spread her errors throughout the entire world, fomenting wars and persecution of the church," end quote. Another time, the children were locked up, but she appeared to them anyway, and she said then to pray for sinners because they go to hell when they're not prayed for. She appears again, and many people see her, to which they ask her to cure the sick. She said that some would be, but others don't have the confidence of the Lord. And after that, a case of mass hysteria happened, as Salmonella talked about in his mass hysteria video, so I won't talk about that. but after the fact, she appeared again to all the people. She basically said that people need to stop offending the Lord and change their lives because the Lord is already so offended. The boy and the one girl would die in 1919 and 1920, while the other girl grew up and became Sister Maria Lucia of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart. So what are the three specific secrets? Well, they're 1. A vision of hell, 2. The prediction of the end of World War I and for the start of World War II, and 3. Religious people being killed, such as the Pope, and Russia becoming the horrible Soviet state it became. Make of that what you will, but I don't want to give my personal opinion on this one. The Gallipoli Campaign. This was a British campaign into the Ottoman state of Gallipoli. It mainly consisted of Anzac forces, meaning Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. The whole idea of it came from Winston Churchill, which led to him being looked down upon by the British until around World War II, where he would garner support in fighting the Nazis. The invasion took place between February 1915 and January of 1916. The goal was to surround the capital of the Ottoman Empire and take control of the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits. This would cut the Ottomans in two and allow for relief force to Russia to come through the Black Sea. It ended with approximately 250,000 casualties on both sides and a total Ottoman victory. The day of the landings is still remembered as Anzac Day in Australia and New Zealand even today, and it's thought that this was the event that sparked the consciousness of both of these nations. This basically meant that they now saw themselves as proper countries as opposed to colonies of the British Empire. It was a very deadly campaign, and Sabaton actually made a pretty good song about it, so maybe go check that out after the video if you want. Lawrence of Arabia. He was just a British dude who went into the Ottoman Empire, befriended the native Bedouin tribes, and committed espionage and guerrilla warfare on the Ottomans on the side of the British Empire. His full name is Thomas Edward Lawrence. He joined the British Empire in 1914 as an intelligence officer and was stationed in Arabia. He would then become heavily involved in the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire. He would be temporarily stationed as the right-hand man of the King of Iraq and assisted in the battles and the strategies as well as leading the battles sometimes. He would then assist in the attacks on Ottoman outposts, destroying bridges and railways, of which a train still remains to this day in the desert as a result of one of his attacks, and the Battle of Tafila, where he was awarded the Distinguished Service Order and promoted to lieutenant colonel. His exploits were widely regarded by the British as being extremely valuable, and he was invested as a companion to the Order of Bath, and then promoted to major. The Order of Bath is basically an order of chivalry that dates back to the 1700s. He was a man like no other, and he wrote all about his time in Arabia in his book, The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. I haven't read it yet, but I really want to, so if you've read it, let me know in the comments if it's good or not. Sabaton also made a song of the same name, which is an absolute banger. The Execution of the Romanov Family. This refers to the imprisonment and execution of Tsar Nicholas Romanov and his family, including his 5 children, at the hands of the Reds. This happened on the night of July the 16th or 17th, 1918. The Reds murdered him and his family in cold blood in the name of the revolution and under orders from Yakov Yurovsky, who was under orders from the Ural Regional Soviet. They were taken to a basement where they were shot and bayoneted multiple times. Of course, Lenin and his cabinet said that they were not responsible for the orders, but they did say that the bodies were completely destroyed. The bodies of the family, except for 2 of the children, were found in 1979 by a man named Alexander Avdonin, and after a decade of silence from the Soviet government, they finally admitted that those were in fact the bodies of the family. After another 9 years, and 80 years after the original murder, the bodies were finally moved to and buried in the Peter and Paul Cathedral in St. Petersburg. In 2007, the 2 missing bodies of the children were found, and they were buried with the rest of their family. The Russian Prosecutor General's office, after another year of waiting and political maneuvering, finally stated that the Romanovs were victims of political repressions. In 2011, another investigation was done, and it concluded that despite opening several state archives in the post-Soviet years, no written document has been found that proves that Lenin or Sverdlov ordered the executions. However, they did endorse the murders after they occurred. Just another sad event that happened during the World War I era. Not much to say about that except that the Soviets are grade A scum. And that brings us to our close for part 1 of the World War I Obscurities and Oddities Iceberg. If you didn't know anything about these, I'm glad you watched this video and learned about it. But like I said, if I put everything into one video, it would be way too long and it would take way too long to record all of it as well. So I'm putting this into different parts, and then I will at the end of the final part, I will combine all of them into one thing. If you haven't checked out my gaming channel, please do. It is just Pigspoo. It'll be in the description. Also, give this video a like, share, comment, and please do subscribe to the channel if you like this content. I very much appreciate it. All my links are in my channel page, so just go there and you'll find all my links. Discord, Instagram, Patreon, everything. So go check that out. This has been Pigspoo. I'll see you in the next Iceberg video. Thank you for watching. Bye!